I remade the entire Ranger class from the ground up, so you don't have to throw away your money at the new 2024 Player's Handbook, because in the end of the day, the new Ranger by WotC is so disappointing. Being a Ranger fan is kind of like being a Kingdom Hearts fan.
Did somebody mention the door to darkness?
You know they can always do better. You know that it can be good, but every single time they let you down.
They put bugs in him.
What?
And there are good classes in the new Player's Handbook. However, the Ranger just sucks, and there's no reason why it should. They have proved to us that they can write a really good class. And I know a lot of you out there do kind of hate the Ranger. You say it has no identity, it has no purpose in the role of a fantasy RPG, but I disagree. On paper, it might seem like the fighter, but with extra steps, but every step is made of D4s and Lego bricks. They do more damage than good. But the truth of it is, Rangers do have a defined identity and a place in fantasy role-playing games. It's just WotC's interpretations mechanically don't live up to that ideal dream, that ideal perspective that Ranger players want. If you ask any Ranger player out there what a Ranger is, they will be able to give you a definition, and the accumulated result of those answers would probably be that Rangers can be defined as someone who tends towards a certain ecosystem, which is true for IRL Rangers too. Because of this, they know the land well, they're its protector, and they maintain the balance. Rangers at times have to cull animals, deal with pests and other dangers to the ecosystem. And so in turn, they become pretty decent hunters and understand how to end something quickly, should the need arise. Rangers have developed a set of wilderness survival skills and know how to adapt whenever the conditions take a turn for the worst. And typically in video games, they are depicted with some sort of animal companion, and I know a lot of you also associate them with bows, but I'm not covering bows here. There are, you can take whatever weapon you want. I don't believe Rangers should be defined by people who use bows. So many people can use bows. Forget about bows. No bows.
No capes.
But you are going to need a bunch of really cool locations to explore, being the wilderness exploration expert that you are. And so if you're a player trying to sweet talk your DM into using this custom remake of the Ranger, why not try bribing them with a sweet Cheipeku subscription? That was a good segue. Hell yeah. If you somehow have not heard of Cheipeku for whatever reason, these are, no joke, the best fantasy maps that you can get out there. I don't know anyone doing a better job than Cheipeku. And as someone who has supported them in the past, before they even became a sponsor, I adore Cheipeku. I'm honored to have them as a sponsor here, and it's just, yeah, I cannot recommend them enough. When you do sign up to their Patreon, you get access to over 5,000 maps for as little as $5. I don't think I need to explain to you how good a deal that is. That is insane. And what I love too about Cheipeku is most of the time when they release a map, they'll release several different versions of that map. And I like to take several of those maps and layer them up in a combat encounter so the combat evolves over time. But it also means that you can very quickly and easily find maps that suit that very specific image that's in your head for your game or your encounter that you're building. But also, just looking at any of these maps here on the screen just fills me with inspiration. They are so rich in flavor, and they are just brimming with so much story potential. And they also have like animated versions of these maps too. It's crazy. I adore this product. I love it. I think you should treat yourself or your DM to a subscription to Cheipeku. Get a bunch of these maps, start using them in your games. They are just fantastic. Thank you so much to Cheipeku for sponsoring this video, and links to them are found down in the description. So I have broken down what I believe to be the core identity of the Ranger. So let's take all of that and apply it to a brand new class, a brand new remake of the Ranger that should still play nicely with all the pre-existing subclasses. But the Ranger's starting kit is actually pretty good. We're not really going to change any of that, but that's the only thing we're going to leave unchanged. So they're going to have the same hit dice, they're going to have the same starting equipment, and they're going to have just the same kind of proficiencies and skills and stuff like that at the start. But yeah, like I said, I've gutted pretty much everything else, and there's a lot to get through, so let's get into it. So starting off at first level, you choose your very own Ranger's domain. I see you, JJK people. I see you and I hear you. I know what you're thinking. This is a bit different to domain expansions, but you know, we had to call something a domain just for the fun of it.
領域展開無料空所
But no, this is a little different. When you start off with this ability, you get to choose a domain you're particularly familiar with. So that is from a list of desert, mountain, ocean, overgrowth, sky, or underdark. That all sounds pretty familiar, right? And that's because it probably is super familiar. This is almost identical to the natural explorer ability from the 2014 Ranger. However, unlike the 2014 Ranger's ability Natural Explorer, this ability, the Ranger's domain, will actually play a massive role in this entire class. The Ranger's Mark is the next ability that you pick up at first level, and it allows you to finally cast Hunter's Mark as many times you like per day, equal to your level. But then, the damage type of your Hunter's Mark will be altered by your Ranger's domain. Desert Rangers will deal fire damage, Mountain Rangers Hunter's Marks will deal cold damage, Ocean deals thunder, Overgrowth poison, Sky Rangers deal lightning damage, and the Underdark dishes out necrotic damage. And then as you reach additional levels, the damage of your Hunter's Mark will actually increase over time. This is huge! This is so cool! Not only have you got like an ample amount of uses of your Hunter's Mark, but now your very own domain can like unleash its wrath upon your enemies. I just think that's so cool that you're drawing from the power of nature, unleashing it in your Hunter's Mark, and depending on what kind of ranger you are, it's gonna be a different kind of attack every time. It just gives you something a bit more personal for your ranger. And the Ranger's Mark, similarly to the Ranger's domain, is going to play a huge part in this class's identity. We're going to use it more and more later on, and you can expend it in cool new ways. And one of your first additional ways of using your Ranger's Mark is through the third ability granted to you at first level, and that is in Flourishes. So Flourishes are really cool. They are a, well, flourish, or an additional effect that you can add to your attacks by spending one use of your Ranger's Mark. And this can be anything from tripping up a foe to reducing their armor, dodge rolling, or precision airstrikes. You learn 2 of these to start, and will continue learning more as you progress through the Ranger class. So now you've already got like a plethora of different tactical maneuvers and decisions that you can make in a battle. Do you throw your Ranger's Mark onto an enemy so that you can continue to do a little more extra damage to them? Or do you use it up in a pinch to dodge out of an attack or alter the battlefield in some way? And Flourishes are only the start of different ways that you'll be able to spend your Ranger's Mark throughout this class. Then at second level, you gain a combat focus, which is nothing really new. I've added a couple of extra ones in there, but what is new are stances. At second level, you develop a particular fighting technique inspired by the creatures of the wilds, and you spend a Ranger's Mark in order to enter this stance, and it lasts for a minute. Do you move like a bounding elk, a charging bull, defending tortoise, or a fearful bunny? There are 7 stances to choose from here, and you'll learn even more at later levels. And then finally, at second level, you will gain a weapon mastery. Bow lovers, this is your moment. I've created 20 unique weapon masteries that each alter the ways you wield weapons in different ways. And there is a perfected technique as well that you gain access to at 5th level. One of my favorites here is the Hiker weapon mastery, which increases your base movement speed and also allows you to avoid difficult terrain so long as you have either a cane or a staff in hand. And the perfected technique that you gain access to at 5th level increases your base movement speed even more as a passive ability, but you can also use up one of your ranger's hunter's mark thingies to dash across the battlefield as a free action and not provoke any opportunity attacks while doing so. But then, come 3rd level, you gain access to spellcasting, and it's not in a typical way. You gain access to spellcasting through the formation of your very own domain fragment. So, what if a ranger could carry the connection, the bond that they've formed with their domain anywhere? And the power of the ranger now comes from their domain, giving back to them for all the good that they've done. Every spell they cast, every ability they use reflects where they've come from. In the same way, one might imagine Tarzan adapting in a similar way after being thrown into a big city. He wouldn't adapt to move like everyone else. He would adapt with the skills he already knows. He would bring the jungle to the city. For me, what felt like a huge Achilles heel for the Ranger is that when you took them out of their domain, they kind of lost access to half of their abilities. WotC's solution to this in 2024 was to remove that entirely, remove that feature that associates them with a domain. But at the same time, I believe that the natural explorability was also the heart and soul of the Ranger, their domain, where they're from, where they, gained all their abilities, gained all their powers. Taking that away from the Ranger just made them feel a bit hollow, just like some other kind of fighting class. So I wanted to strengthen that feature here. I wanted to give the Ranger the ability to carry the heart of their domain wherever they go. And this new fragment of their domain that they form could look like anything. It could look like a gemstone, magical tattoos, or it could even be the Ranger's heart itself. And whatever form it takes, this new domain fragment will serve as your spellcasting focus and also give you access to some really cool abilities later on in this class. But speaking of spellcasting, you might have noticed that in this document I've also given the Ranger very similar spellcasting features to the Warlocks, allowing them to access a limited amount of spell slots set at a certain level. And this is to reflect the nature of their relationship with their domain. It's very similar to a Warlock's relationship with their patron. And now with access to spellcasting, the Ranger can use their final 3rd level feature or ability known as the Final Blow. You see, whenever you hunt a creature in an ethical way, the humane thing to do is to finish it off in one go so that the creature doesn't have to suffer. Through their line of work, Rangers have perfected this technique, and now by being able to channel their domain's power into their attacks, they can deal devastating results. Whenever you make an attack, you can choose to make it a final blow. When you do so, you spend 1 spell slot to do so, and this will bump up the attack's damage based on the level of the spell slot used, similar to Paladin's Divine Smite. But you can only use this feature against a creature that has been marked with your Ranger's or Hunter's mark. But the coolest part about this ability is that you can draw on the power of all your allies around you to enhance this attack further. You get them to spend either hit dice or a spell slot, and each contribution will increase the final damage of the final blow. And you'll even deal some bonus damage if the creature has less than half their health. And so what's really cool about this is you have to think about when you want to use this, the opportune moment. Do you want to do it straight away so you can finish off the foe like immediately, or do you want to wait until their health has been whittled down enough so that you can truly finish them off? Then wrapping up 3rd level, you get to finally choose your subclass. And because this video is kind of getting a bit long, we're just going to go speed through the rest of the abilities here. Okay, so at 4th level, you get your ASI. Whoopee! Choose a feat, increase one of your abilities, whatever you like. 5th level grants you extra attack, no changes there. And then you'll get an improved Ranger's Domain feature at 6th level. So you can either deepen your connection here with your pre-existing domain or broaden your horizons, learning how to adapt outside of it and also take up an additional domain to add to your list of domains that you're a part of. A new place to call your home. 8th level grants you the ability Favored Friend, and this is literally the embodiment of your domain. It's an elemental creature that you can summon once per day, and they are considered large, and you can ride them as a mount. It's very, very nice. Very neat little feature. Now you have a little animal companion, or however you want to describe them. Flavor them however you like. But what's really neat is that a lot of their features are going to be based off the domain that they're embodying. And yes, you can combo this with the Drake Warden subclass. At 9th level, you gain access to your Ranger's Mantle, and you spend a spell slot to do so, which cloaks you in the energies of your domain. This grants you some temporary hit points based on the spell slot that you used, and a Desert Mantle will strike back enemies with a fiery aura. The Ocean Mantle grants you a swim speed, Overgrowth increases your movement speed, and the Mountainous Mantle increases your defense. All mantles give you some sort of protection against their associated damage type, as well as granting you some other elemental buffs to your own attacks. And then, come 11th level, your domain is going to gift you with a Primeval token. Once per day, you can draw from the power of this token to unleash a 6th level spell against your foes. At 13th level, you'll be granted an additional totem that allows you to cast a 7th level spell. At 15th level, you'll get an 8th level spell, and at 17th level, you'll be gifted with a 9th level spell, giving you 4 totems in total. I love the idea of just having a collection of different Brother Bear themed totems that you can call upon and cast spells, and also maybe theming the totems on the spell. Imagine having a Phoenix totem that can cast something like Firestorm, or having an Elephant totem that can cast Earthquake. But now we're coming close to the end, and I just want to slow down a bit and also just say that both the 2014 and the 2024 Rangers endgame kind of abilities, they suck. They're kind of trash. A lot of the time with classes in D&D, when you reach like 18th, 19th, 20th level, a lot of the abilities are super disappointing. So I have hopefully changed that and tweaked that, and I hope you like what I've come up with. So at 18th level, you can spend one of your Ranger's marks to turn not just invisible, but become completely inconceivable.
Inconceivable!
While you are inconceivable, you're considered to be invisible for mechanical purposes, but you cannot be perceived in any way.
Inconceivable!
This is like hyper invisibility. This is the ultimate hunting technique that you developed. And through your development of it, you also become aware of anyone trying to do something similar. So you gain this kind of ability to see any inconceivable.
Inconceivable! You keep using the word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
Invisible or any creature on the ethereal plane within 30 feet of you at all times. And at 20th level, you do not get to increase your hunter's mark from a D6 to a D10 like you do in the 2024 Player's Handbook. No, that's trash. We're getting rid of that. And nor are you going to be adding your wisdom modifier once per turn only to your attacks and your damage rolls. No, that's also trash. We're chucking that out. Goodbye, 2014 Ranger. Instead, no, we're going all out with the 20th level ability here. And I have named it the Primal Avatar feature. When you take up this feature, your connection with your domain just becomes completely seamless. Your Ranger's Mantle no longer needs to have a spell slot spent to activate it, and also you can use your Ranger's Mark as many times as you like. You become immune to your domain's damage as long as your Ranger's Mantle is active, and also you're no longer limited to the amount of times you can activate and summon your favored friend. You can actually do this as many times as you like, and now they're considered to be huge, and you can have a bunch of people riding on them, and they can fly. This might be too much. You can cut away some of these things too, but I feel like at 20th level, it doesn't really matter. The game's over. You need to feel cool. You need to feel like a primeval avatar at this stage, and adding, your wisdom modifier to your attacks and damage once per turn just doesn't really feel like it lives up to that ultimate dream. I don't know what else to call it. No, instead, when you reach 20th level, you become the ultimate warden of your domain, and no one will stand in your way. Thank you to every one of my incredible patrons who make this dream job of mine possible. Also, if you like exploring, if you like that kind of like ranger fantasy of exploring new places, new worlds and everything else, check out my exploration video, which I'll link here. It'll pop up somewhere here on the screen. Do go check that out. I'm very proud of it. And have a wonderful week, everyone. Goodbye.